Hello and welcome to Scalemodeling, and welcome to part 3 of our Mark 1 Spitfire Eduard build, my first aircraft build, and it's going really good. So this is where we're up to, all this area of the cockpit done. We got the seatbelt on there, we got everything glued in. It's looking really nice, so I'm happy with that. Now, what I was waiting on was to buy a couple of new paint brushes because there were some little bits that needed painting. But I couldn't wait any longer. So what I've done was, there we go. I used some of the Icky Sticky masking tape. I've got some really like 1mm thick masking tape. And I've just gone and masked around there. And it's the flat black areas in there that I ended up painting. And it's been fine. No slip up. Nothing went where it shouldn't have, and it looks good. So that's it. Fantastic. And what we're going to do now is, and I'll just show you the instructions where we are. Get the glare away. So all that is done. Okay, I've crossed all that off. And we're now doing all of this. So what I'm going to do is, I haven't really read into this. I need to look at this in a bit of detail. So I'm just going to go to that, just revise it all, and then we'll come back and I'll know exactly where I'm starting and what I've got to do. I don't want to make any mistakes because there's some very detailed parts of this. So I shall be back shortly. Okay, so after a bit of deep reading and working this out, I've come to the conclusion that this is going to be fairly easy, the photo etch for the shoulder strap. So I'm just sort of skipping that for the moment. And what I'm moving on to is this part here, which is the console and the dashboard, I guess. Now, what we got here is some interesting stuff. First of all, the one I'm doing, which is the E Spitfire, is not listed here. Okay, so there's a few things that I don't need to worry about, including decals and other parts. So what I'm going to do is put this piece together using these parts. I'm not going to worry about any of those because I'm not doing those aircraft. There's optional decals here, which I don't understand why, because everything's sort of covered on these. These are quite nicely detailed and they look really good. And this is the photo etch on there. I don't think decals go on top of this photo etch, but we'll see. Then there's this here, which is the gun sight. So that's going to go on. We're going to put that on. Optional there is the plastic part or the photo etch part of the crosshairs. We'll go with the photo etch part. And then A1, which is this here, part A1 and A21, they go together. So we'll do those, even though I'm not sure where that goes in the whole scheme of things. And then we've got this part here, which is another optional piece that's going in on the back of here, on the back of this. You see that there. So yeah, it's all very dependent on which version of the Spitfire you're going to do. It's got me a little bit confused, but I'm going to work through it slowly. And like I said, I'll get these parts off. Now I know that this has got to be painted grey-green, except for the top half, because the photo etch with the instrument cluster is going to go on top of that. So what I'll probably do is paint that first, get paint on that, and while I'm doing that, the support for the crosshairs for the firing of the gun, that's also grey-green. And grey-green is also this part, which I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I just can't see that going anywhere. Unless the question mark makes these two optional. I got a feeling that they're the same thing, just two different versions of it. So we probably only have to make one. I'm looking at that. I'm thinking that's probably the best. That looks quite the best. Yeah. So we'll put that one in. So I'll do that for the painting, that for the painting, and what else do I need to paint? Anything else is grey-green. There's a couple of parts down here. These are down on the foot controls. It looks like they're grey-green as well. There's also some plastic parts here to be cut off, which are red, and replaced with photo etch. And then they're aluminium, which means probably leave them the colour with photo etch. But yeah, I'll get those prepared as well and do them. Just that while I've got the grey-green, I might as well do everything. This R7 piece here, which is where the rear belt harnesses will go back through, that's all going to be grey-green as well. So I'll take that off and do that. And then there's another optional piece here which sits in the back of this. Again, I don't know what it is. But it's grey-green as well with some flat black. So, alright, so anyway, I've got some parts to take off and a bit of painting to do, and we'll come back and we'll see where we're at. Alright, we'll be back in a sec. Alright, one more thing before I go and paint them was this bracket here that goes where the harnesses will go through behind the pilot. It has the little marks on the metal there that to look like they're holes, but they're not. So I drilled them out, and they're, for the record, they're 0.04 of a millimeter in diameter. Is that right? 0.4, yeah. So I used the Icky Sticky tungsten micro drill bits, and not a problem, done. Just had to be very, very good with the eyesight, and they are there, believe me. So now I'm going to go and put some the green paint on these and let them dry, and then yeah, come back and take a look at them and get to work on this console here. Okay, back again in a sec. Okay, we've got the parts painted up, looking nice in that beautiful green. Yeah, all fine. Just did the part that's going to go underneath, because this is where the display panel will be. There's the display panel, and as you can see, tiny. And I'll put some pictures up in the corner there so you can actually see how that went together. There's 4 parts to it, and it looks just fantastic. It really does. And that will get mounted onto that, I should say. I'm just waiting for the for that to dry. So yeah, and then now I've got to go and get some photo etch for the foot pedals, which are what these are painted. I still need to cut off the parts that the clamps are holding it by and replace them with the metal photo etch. So yeah, great. Let me move onwards and do a bit more. Back in a sec. Alright, back with more progress as usual. As you can see here, we've got the panel on, looking really good. You can also see I've got the crosshairs for the aiming on the little piece on the top there. So that's all done. Leaving that just the photo etch colour, because it's got to be aluminium anyway, so that's done. So yeah, that's looking really nice. Also this piece here, you can just make that out. That's a compass. That sits on the back in there and pokes through the front here. So that'll be the compass. And there was a little photo etch piece with the dial on it that sits on the top of that. So I've just finished that piece, and I'll be gluing that on next. There we go. Just stand that up again, which it won't let me do, but that's okay. All right, and here are the rudder controls for the feet. I've got the photo etch. I've bent it. It was quite simple, really. Just rolled it on this soft piece of foam here using a toothpick, and I got the shape. The other piece, the flat piece, just folds up at the 2 ends, and you just glue them together. So they're done and looking pretty good. So we've got the left and right rudder pedals there. There we go. All right, so they'll go on, but not just yet. The next thing I've got to do will be, I'm just having a quick check here. I'm still not doing the harnesses until I've got this connected onto here. All right, there's this piece here which goes, I think goes to the back. Yes, this one will slip in the back here someplace, which is where the photo etch strap goes through the top of there. Okay, so I want to make sure this is all attached, and then I can do the strap and put that on first. Should be easy, nothing will be in the way to do that. I think we're getting to the point where this section will be able to slot into there, and then the foot pedals can go on there. I'm not sure which first. I'll see which way is easiest after I attach that onto there. So that's it for, and that will be that finishing that page of the instructions. Other than the shoulder harnesses, we'll be moving over to the next page. So yeah, looking forward to that. All right, I'll be back again and we'll have a look at a bit more progress shortly. All right, so we've got that piece in there now. All right, with the rudder controls down in the bottom there. There's our instrument panel. It's all sitting in there nice. A little bit tricky fitting this in here with these. You have to put it in at an angle and then turn it, and it was a little bit, yeah, didn't want to go in too well, but it's in, so that's what's important. So what I'm looking at doing now is this little section here, which will be mounted in the back here. It has a little brace that goes across the top. It goes from here and over onto the top of that, and that's it just there. If you can make that out there, I've just hand painted that the grey green. All right, I've also put in the head rest on the back of that, so that's in place now. And then this piece actually goes on the fuselage. Doesn't need to be painted, but it goes inside the back. It may be where the I'm guessing that's where the rear wheel's going to go up into. Okay, I'll show you what I mean, because we're getting to the point where we're going to need to get the aircraft fuselage out. Let me just push that out of the way. All right, so this is all this here is done now. Let me just get the camera out so you can see a bit better. All right, so all this page is completely done now. The only thing that isn't, I think it's all, oh yeah, is this part down the bottom here. Okay, so that's that piece that needs the bit across the top. Right, so I'm just going to test fit it before I put it in, and then we got to join the other side of the cockpit up against this here. Okay, so that we have, as you can see in this picture, both sides on, and then that whole piece will go on the inside of the fuselage. Okay, so I need to get that part done, and I've had a quick look at our aircraft fuselage, which I'll bring over now, and we'll see. Okay, so here it is here. Move that out of the way. God, the clutter builds up, doesn't it? All right, so that's going to mount in there, obviously. But what we need to do with this is get some paint on the inside of here, because we need to see a bit of aluminium. So a little bit of section at the back here is going to be aluminium, which is what we had on the back of the cockpit there. All right, so if you imagine that that's sort of sitting in there like that, so we need to get some aluminium and some green in there as well. So what I'll do is I'll go put some Mr. Surfacer down on there first, let that dry. I'll do the same on this side, and then I'll spray the aluminium. I'll using black Mr. Surfacer, then spray the aluminium on, and then I'll mask it up to do the grey green. All right. Now this piece that I showed you before was for the rear wheel. I'm fairly certain it goes in here. All right, it goes in there. That's why I imagine that's what it was, because there's a hole in the bottom where I'm thinking that wheel's going to pop up through. Okay, No need to paint that. Also on here, there's another piece that's going to fit in here, like part of the frame, which doesn't need painting, and one towards the front as well. So that will be, let me show you here, that piece and that piece. So I'll cut them off the sprue, I'll put them with that and set them aside for now. And I have to remember to, they'll go in as well. Now there's a couple of pieces here and here that go on the side of the aircraft. It's part of the sort of where the wings attach, and that looks like that gets glued on. So I guess I can do that at any time. Finally be able to see how well these two halves go together, and no gap, fingers are crossed. And there was something else. Oh, this here we don't have to pay any attention to because this is for closed canopies only. We're going to have ours open, but otherwise you would have to cut some plastic off on there. Now there are a couple of decals inside. They go over the part that we'll be doing green and possibly aluminium. So I will check. There, it does say optional, but I will try and put them in if I can. Don't know whether you'll be able to see them, but what the hell, it's all part of the detail, isn't it? So we'll do that. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Need to put some undercoat surfacer on that, some primer on that, and get a bit of color for the inside of it. All right, so I shall do that and be back again shortly. And just before I go put some paint on here, I just thought I'd show you where I masked up these areas here, which is basically where this surface here is going to make contact with the plastic on both sides, just so we have plastic on plastic, not plastic on paint, for it to stick better. So yeah, I'll go do the black primer on this now. All right, back from the balcony spray booth, and I've done the colors that we need in here for the interior of the fuselage, which will be seen through the cockpit area. Okay, so what I did was I sprayed the grey green in there, and then I put some masking tape over it, and I've done the aluminium back here. So there'll be a bulkhead here that will stop you viewing it back there. So that's all covered. All the viewable area is covered basically. Up here is where we'll have the control panel and everything. So it's all sprayed up and to cover all that area. And the same in here as well. So what I'm going to do now is, I literally sprayed this like just a few minutes ago. But as I do, I don't like leaving tape on longer than I need to. So we'll just take off the masking tape, because I like to see those nice straight lines, which we've got. This masking tape here was put on mainly to keep that area where the cockpit will go in and the walls glue up against plastic clear. So when I glue it, it's going to be gluing onto plastic rather than onto a painted surface, because we don't want that. So there you go. And looks quite nice. A beautiful straight line as we want, thanks to the tape. Let's take this side off now. There we go. Very happy with that. And then we'll take this one off here. Feel that. Get that one off like that. You'll notice I haven't taken these halves off the sprue yet either. It's just much easier to handle while they're still connected on here. But of course we'll have to take them off shortly. There'll also be a bit of cleanup on the connection points. But there we go, look at that. Very nice. And of course in there will be, let's do a quick little sneak look at that. That's going to go something like that. There we go. Happy days. In fact, I sprayed way more than I needed to, but there is a hole down there where the pilot's legs go, that open area down there, so you can actually see in there. So it's advantage to do spray a little bit back further. Although from the angle looking down through the cockpit, you're definitely probably not going to see all that anyway. I think just the wall here covers about as far back as you could see looking down. But better safe than sorry, and we get a bit more than we need, that's fine. I've also glued on this at the back. This was for the rear wheel attached to attach to. We also have this wall here, which doesn't need painting at all, but this will go, just have a quick look at the instructions. It looks like it goes in there like that. So that's going to sit there. It's a bulkhead in there. All right, and we've got this piece here, which sits right up near the nose of the aircraft. That's going to sit in there like that, pretty much. And I don't think that there's nothing about painting that, so I think that that'll be covered as well. So we'll put that aside. So yeah, that looks good. So what I'll do is I'll let that dry properly before I handle it too much more. And I'm just thinking there is a few, we do actually have a bit of photo etch that needs to go, if I remember right, I think it's on this one up here. Is it? Yeah, I think there's a piece of photo etch that needs to go in there, and another little, looks like some sort of a pump or something. Let me show you on the instructions. Might be better me trying to explain. So you see here we've got a little piece of photo etch. Photo etch number 6 is there. There's an optional decal going in there as well, and this little piece here which has to be painted flat black. So I'll figure that out. Where I can, I will put the decals on. So I like to be able to have them on. There's also decals here too. Number 79 and 78 both go in on that part as well. Which, if I remember right, is... where's that going to be? It's hard to judge. I think it's going to go in there, on the green there. Now, of course, this should also be clear-coated before I put decals down, and also before I think about even doing any weathering or anything. So I haven't really thought about the weathering of the inside of the cockpit. Whether it would be easier to do the weathering around the seat and interior of the cockpit before the two halves are joined, I'm thinking it probably would be, just to do a little bit of a work on there. I'll have to see what I've got that can help me out with that, because we can't have it too shiny and looking brand new, because it certainly wasn't brand new, this aircraft. We, of course, will attach one end in first, which will be this going onto the fuselage on this side, I think. Yeah, on this side. Which means we'll have to put the piece on the back, which is this one here. Okay, that's going to go on the back there. And it sits up quite high too. In fact, if I remember right, after the two sides join, I'm just trying to think of the best time to put the seat belts. Probably when I've attached it there, I'll put in the rear race. I keep calling them race harnesses. I used to have race harnesses in my car back in my younger day. But yeah, the harnesses. All right, not a problem. All right, I'll be back. Oh, also what I did too was I attached, there was a couple of bits that needed gluing in here. There was a little piece on there and a little piece on there as well. I don't know why they weren't molded on there originally, but they were put on there as well. And those are parts P45 that went on there and P44. So I've just glued them on. Other than that, this is all done now, other than what I just went through and mentioned. Now, as for, excuse me, decals going on a surface that's been clear coated, I will just use a flat clear. I don't think I need to use a gloss clear. It will be, yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about that yet. I certainly don't want to put decals straight down on the paint though. I'd rather have a clear coat there. And it's probably easier to clear coat it now, especially before I start trying to put the seat in. Okay, no worries. All right, I will continue and stop talking. Back shortly. Okay, here we are, zoomed in close, looking at the harnesses for the over the shoulders, and got to be very, very careful. All right, this piece I thought was just like the rest of them, a solid piece, but it's not. There's nothing in between there. It's just two thin wires, and and it's supposed to be connected, so it's actually broken off there, but that's no problem. I'll be able to reconnect that easily. But it's hard. It's got to be careful not to get that out of shape. There's a slight kink in it right now, but I can fix that. That's okay, and probably make it look a bit more natural anyway. This here, what I've done is I test fitted it down on the seat. I'll bring the seat in like that. So, okay, so what I did was I've put it down along there. It's just going to get pressed into shape so it fits the curve of the chair, and then this part will stick up. So I've just glued the piece on the back of there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is fold these two tabs over the front to hold it in place, and then that piece there will bend over the back of the seat and down, while this piece will extend over out the back and through that. Well, actually, it will go through this piece here. Okay, so this will go and thread onto that. That's where it's actually supported and braced. Okay, now this can't go on until I join the two sides of the fuselage, because these points here are on the two sides that join, that go in there when it connects. So putting the two halves together will be a little bit tricky. But until then, this will just be out of the way. It's not going to get bumped, and I'll thread it into there when it's supposed to be put there. That's the plan. Let's hope that works out all right. Yeah, so I will continue on. I'll bend these tabs across and work on it, and then we can come back after I've got it down on the seat. We'll see how it looks. All right, I'll be back in a second. All right, guys, so let's have a look. I've put the seatbelt on, as you can see it there, and looks fantastic. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going to do a bit of a clear coat over all this. I've got my XF 86, it's a flat clear, and I'm going to go over and put clear coat on there. I'm going to do it here on these parts as well, and of course on this wall as well, because I am going to use a bit of panel line wash to just get a bit of the detail come up on it. And of course the clear coat will put a layer over that protects the paint, so that should be fine. So yeah, I'm going to get those bits all clear coated and done. Now I've also done a test fit of this wall up against here, and it fits in there really well. All these are lining up just as I wanted to. There was one little thing, that this little shelf here, I think that was blocking this from sitting straight down in there. So I did go in and I cut a little piece just to give a bit more space. Now it sits in there and everything is straight, because it was sort of looking a little bit crooked. But we're all good now. So once the clear coat's on, and I go in there and I'm going to start doing a little bit of weathering around on the seat and on the little metal parts and so forth, just a few little scratches here and there. And I mean, it's so small, how far do you go really? But it's good practice anyway, particularly when I go into my next aircraft, which I'm certainly keen to do, which will be a little bit larger scale, probably at 32 scale. But yeah, so I will be doing a little bit of work on the cockpit. All right, so I'll get this done, wait for it to dry, and then I can do some weathering on there, and we'll come back and have another look. Back shortly, guys. All right, I'm back again, and I've been doing a bit of detail work on the cockpit here. Using some panel iron, accent color black, I'm just going along and touching it in here with some cotton buds and just working it through there on some of the panels and metal parts, and just very lightly just putting it, darkening it up, and yeah, it's come up all right. It's as much as I want to do. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, it is so small. Once this is inside the two halves of the fuselage, and then everything else, you're not going to be able to see much. If it was a 132 scale, then sure, people are going to see more. But it was good. It's good practice anyway. So yeah, it's all right. I did a little bit along there too, just to lift the panel lines on there just a little bit as well, and it's come up all right. A little bit of a darker bit around those oxygen bottles, and yeah, it just gives it a bit more of a 3D effect, even though it is 3D. So now I need to join that onto there like that. I'm going to glue that on, and then on the back of there, where'd it go? There it is. That support's going to go on the back of there, and then I'll thread in the finishing part of that rear seat belt, the shoulder straps through it. And the next step after that is putting it in here and joining the two halves of the aircraft together. So let me shut up and get on with it, and I'll be back with a bit more progress shortly. Okay, so I've just glued them together, and those halves have gone together really well. Everything down here is lined up evenly on both sides, so I'm really happy with that. I just ran some glue down the sides on the inside there, and yeah, there we go. It's looking nice. So I'm going to make sure that's dry before I do anything else. Obviously, this piece here is going to go on the back. I just have to make sure I get that position correct. It's going to go, and I can already tell it's perfectly fitting on there too. So that's going to get glued in place basically like that. We've got a little brace that goes across from the top of the front one to the back one, so that will give the distance spacing correct. And then of course the seat belt, which will run through that top bracket underneath in there, and that'll be good. So happy days. I don't know if I mentioned it before, I've got a couple of decals down on there, and we've got that little plastic piece that I don't know what it was, that black piece, with a piece of photo etch in there with like a decal type print on it as well. So they're all in place, so happy days with those. So this will be ready to join the two halves together as soon as this is dried and I've got that on. So let me get on with it. I'll be back again in a sec. Hello and welcome back, everybody. So we've got this half of the cockpit glued in. What I did was I left it overnight. I put a small peg in there just to hold it down where it was just sitting up a bit. But it's fine, and it's sitting in there, I hope, really nicely. I think it's all right. I haven't tried to put this on the other side yet to see, because the way I look at it is, if this is not completely flat and the right distance, then when it sits up against here, when this goes on, we're going to end up with a gap all the way along the top of the fuselage if it isn't right. Now, there is room to sand, and I can sand back to a certain degree, but hey, let's be a bit more confident, all right? Now, so what I'm going to do is I'll test fit this onto there, and then once I know it's all in good, this firewall needs to go in there, and then this front piece up where the propeller is, that needs to go in, and then the whole lot glues on at once at the same time. This part, I've decided that I can bend that enough, right, because that needs to go behind there, to put it in after this is glued on. Okay, so there's no great rush to get that in there. Okay, so let me do this, and fingers crossed we come back and that'll be sitting in there right, ready to glue. Always test fit, always. Okay, I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so I just want to show you here. I've just put it together. On the bottom there, it's clipped in, and in the bottom at the back here, that clipped in, and the seam line along the bottom is spot on, not a problem. And along the back here, perfect. You can see that in focus, there we go. Perfect along the back there as well. Where we do have a problem is where I expected, right at the top of the instrument panel. There's a gap there. You can see that. All right. Now, that's where I mentioned earlier about sanding. I think I can sand enough back to get that to, yeah, we've got like a quarter of a millimeter is all we need to do that. Now, obviously, there's the alternative of filling. We could do some filler. Let me just take this back off. But I don't think I need to. I really think that if I just sand this along here, where I feel it sticking up a little bit, that will get rid of the gap there. So I'm going to get to work on this, and it doesn't matter what it looks like here. You can't see this part, so I'll probably get in there with a file and just file it down or make it a bit quicker, and we should be good. All right, so I'm going to get onto that, and we'll come back and we'll see how it fits after that. Okay, so this has taken a lot of work. I've got the gap out. There's practically no gap there now. We're looking pretty good. But it took a lot of work. I actually had to take the display panels off because they're metal and file them all the way around so that they'd sit in there better, because they were causing this not to sit in there flush against there. And as you can see right now, there's no gap there now. So it's still going to be tricky to glue together because I need to keep pressure on there. So I'm going to probably have to get some rubber bands and glue them in. We've also, like, I've still got to put these in as well, so they're no problem, I'm sure. But yeah, we've got it fitted. I'll take that back off. So yeah, I've sanded all of that around. I don't know why the whole thing is just out a little bit, the fraction of a millimeter, like a nanometer, like about 5 atoms maybe. But yeah, but to sand that back, then I started to touch the metal, so I had to sand the metal back as well. But they're glued back in, they're all good. And where the metal's showing now, I'll just touch that up with a bit of black paint on there. You won't see any of that after I've put it together, where that little glisten is. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't expecting it to go in easy and together smoothly, but not bad. It could have been a lot worse. But we've run out of time on this video, so unfortunately you're going to have to come back and watch the next video to see this all glued together. And yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it at. So again, thank you for watching, and all being well, I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to catch me on the live streams every weekend. Subscribe, like, and your comments are welcome below. And yeah, thank you all for the support I'm getting so far. It's been fantastic, all the tips and advice. And yeah, excellent. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. Cheers.